Hi, it's Jen, and I want to put this pre part to this video for people like me who are in a hurry and just want the specifications of the card and don't want to see me making the entire thing. So you need 2 pieces of cardstock. The first is going to be cut at 8.5 by 5.5, 8.5 long, 5.5, and then it's going to be folded into a gatefold down the center. The second one is going to be cut at 4 1/4 by 9 1/8, and it's going to be scored at 5.5. And I always say I trim off just a little bit extra because it's so exact that it fits too snug and the doors don't close. And that way it can go inside, your doors can close, and the flap goes down on the bottom, or the top. Or if you want, you can leave it the way it was, glue that to the back of the card, same story. So that's for all of you advanced people who just wanted to see how it was done. Just a plain gatefold card. Another one cut that same width with an extra flap on it. Thanks! Hi guys, it's Jen Evers, and I want to do a tutorial by request for the base of this tri-fold card. It's a basic gatefold card with an extra flap that goes over the top. This one is very involved and it's got extra inside layers, and those things can always be added later. What I'm going to teach you how to do is just the base of the trifold card. And where I'm getting my information from is a website called Shelly's Images, and it's Shelly's Images blog, shellysimagesblog.blogspot.com, and she does a tutorial on her website that is a written and photographed one, so I'm just turning it into my version of a video for those of you who have a tough time following written instructions. So to get started, you will need 2 pieces of cardstock and some sort of trimmer, a bone folder, and that's it. You'll need some adhesive later on to put the pieces together, but let's get started. The first piece we're going to cut will be 8.5 by 5.5. So I'm going to go, since this is already 8.5, because I have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, I have my 8.5 sheet side of the sheet that way, and now I'm going to turn it this way and I'm going to cut it at 5.5. If your page is not already 8.5 by 11, you'll have to trim the 8.5 side as well. Now we're going to make the regular gatefold card, which I'm going to make as simple as possible. I'm not going to use my score pal or my Martha Stewart scoring. I'm just going to put it in a circular, kind of a circular way like this, which means you can move that. You can move the gates any which way you want to make one of the gates shorter or longer, depending on what side you want it to open on. And I'm going to eyeball it up and I'm going to put it down and put those together at about where I think it's half. And then I'm just going to make sure my center is together, run my finger out to the edge, and put a crease in it. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is because I've run into a problem where I've done this on a scoring platform and the center didn't come together, and I was really frustrated by that, but this comes out perfect relatively every time. If you get really upset about particulars, like it meeting exactly in the middle, if this side has to be exactly the same, and you don't like to eyeball things, then by all means use a score pal, put yours in and measure those sides out. But this way I think it's faster. The second piece that's going to sit in the middle of this and flap down from the top, this one that's underneath that you can't see, that creates this top flap, needs to be cut at 4 1/4 by 9 1/8. And every time I cut mine by 4 1/4, because this part of the card is technically 4 1/4 across the middle. It's exactly 4 1/4, which means when I put it in there and try to close this gatefold onto it, it never quite fits. So I always cut it just a little bit smaller. However, if you want to, when you glue it on, you can glue it on the back side so it flips over. I like to glue mine on the inside. It's just a personal preference. So I'm going to cut mine at 9 1/8 first. 9 1/8. And then I'm going to do mine 4 1/4, which is what it's supposed to be. But because I want mine on the inside, I'm going to also just move this over a tad. My trimmer, well, it's still in there. And I'm just going to trim a little extra piece off. See, and then it'll, both of your gates will totally fold over on that. So here's my point, is that you could glue this on the back and flip it over, or you could glue it right into the card and flip it over. It's totally your choice. And there's one fold that has to be done there. Let me find my bone folder. Where did I put that little guy? Here he is. It says that she does hers scored at 5 1/2. So you put this piece right back in at 5 1/2. Score it. And then give it a bend. And that should give you the inside so that it folds over the top. Pretty simple. And then all I did was for the inside. These are my 2 inside flaps here. I just added an extra flap on top. So you take some of this extra leftover paper and create yourself a flap on either side and glue it on this edge. And then make another flap and glue it on this edge so that they will open up. So you have extra flaps. I mean, you can add as much embellishment to these as you want. And I also added wings to mine that would swing out. So I got those from Chris. Hey Chris, thanks for the wings. It totally made the project. I really love it. So I hope that helped out the person that wanted the video, and maybe a few other people who would like to create that card but thought it might be a little bit too difficult. It's super simple. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time I make a video. Bye.